Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Eclectic Knitter Podcast. My name, of course, is Raylene, aka Come On and It's on Ravelry. The brat face over here, down by my hand, is Cyrus. He's my 11-month-old lab Dane mix of some kind, who is super interested in everything that I do and gets really upset when I work in the office because he can't snuggle with me. So he either sleeps underneath the desk or he goes into the bedroom and pouts by laying in the dark on the bed on my pillow until I'm done, no matter what time of day. So yeah, he's a big baby, but that's the way we love him. So this is a knitting and spinning podcast. I am located in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. It is Sunday morning. It's still Sunday morning. Oh, it's 11:48 in the morning on Sunday, August 27th. You can find me on Ravelry. This is getting all mixed up. This is the second time I'm doing this because I had to close the blinds because it was blowing my face out because it's super sunny outside today. So, yeah. Anyway, you can find me on Ravelry as Come On and Knits. I'm also on Instagram as Come On and Knits. I don't use it that often. I'm using it most recently to post spinning stuff. So if you want to follow there, I haven't quite caught up on the Instagram bandwagon yet, so not quite used to using it. You can find show notes for this episode at theeclecticknitter.com. There's also a link to the blog or to the show notes in the Ravelry group. Episodes are posted on YouTube, but they're uploaded to iTunes, and there you can also watch it directly from the blog. We are in the office again, and he's not usually like this. He might want something. He's needy, you know. So you can once again see my very messy office/yarn storage room. And I think this is where I'm going to be recording from now on. The light's really nice, and this way I don't have to take down and reset up my camera because I can just leave it plugged into the computer. So usually I record every 2 weeks. Now next weekend I'm at the lake with my parents and my brother and sister-in-law. My parents have rented a cabin for us, and they're bringing their camper, so we're all meeting out there. So usually in that case I would push an episode back a week, which means it would be 3 weeks in between episodes. But I figured I have enough content really to do a podcast right now. So that is what I am doing. I have finished quite a few things, and I have one new work in progress, and that's all I've really worked on. I have 2 new works in progress. And those are all that I have worked on once I finished all the things, because I finished quite a bit. So the first thing that I finished is I finished a pair of vanilla socks in On the Rounds signature sock in the Rebel colorway. Speckly, tasticky goodness. These are with the Fish Lips Kiss heel. I did the first one over August long weekend on double points. And the second one I finished last weekend after I recorded, obviously, on Magic Loop, like I normally do. So her On the Round, her signature sock is an 80 merino, 20 nylon. That's percents. Come on, focus. Please, it's very hard to hold up my hand this long. It's not focusing. There you go. And it's a more rustic nylon base. It feels more rusticy, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. It's very nice in the skein. It looks like really poofy, and I haven't washed these yet. I don't usually wash my socks before I wear them. So that's one finished object. The next thing I finished is my vanilla with an afterthought heel socks in Lollipop Yarns Beefcake base in her Stardust Is it Stardust? Yeah, Stardust colorway. And then I did get a little skein of contrasting heels and toes, so I did heels and toes in the contrast, which happened to be the speckle this time. I love this blue. So I finished both of those. Once again, they're not washed or anything. Let's see if I can put them together. They've been sitting beside me for a while. So yeah, that's those. They were really nice to knit. I really like that base. I'm glad that I have quite a bit of it. The next thing I finished is a pair of vanilla socks with a fish lips kiss heel. These are out of Madeline Tosh's newer work sock base in the Nassau Blue Soot colorway. So Nassau Blue is the tealy bluey green, and Soot is the white with the speckles. And like half the skeins done up in the Nassau Blue. It's a lot greener than it's showing there, and half of it's done in the Soot. So it kind of does micro stripes, which is cool. These are, workhorses are really, like, you get 400 yards in a skein, and they don't do weights for their skeins. They go by yardage. It's a really, it's a true kind of sport weight. And I knit these on US size 1.5s. And I went down to 60 stitches, and they kind of fit funny, and I think that's partly because the yarn feels really, like, it's a very dense gauge for this yarn. I could have probably gone up a needle size or two, and I will for the next one, because I have quite a bit of this base, because I like thicker sock bases. So I will probably be going up a needle size or two. I might try them on 2.5s next time, and then decrease the stitch count further, because these, they kind of, like, they're tight around the arch, and then they're loose everywhere else. Kind of. It's weird. But those are finished. I didn't feel like ripping out an entire sock. That's kind of when I realized after I finished the first one, and I did not feel like ripping out an entire sock and reknitting, because I'm lazy like that. So the next thing, I have a spinning finish object that is still damp. This is my Merino Pencils on superwash merino nylon. And there are sections of this that are really underplied, and that is, I finally realized what I'm doing wrong. So the quicker you ply, the more chance you have for underplying. And I'm always in a hurry to finish plying. I mean, I've only done, this is like my 4th braid of fiber, but I feel like plying should be so fast. So I really hurry with it. I think you can see some underspun parts or underplied sections in there. So I really kind of race through it and try to get it done as fast as possible, and I guess I shouldn't do that. Most of it is plied nicely, and it is, I have a reps per inch tool finally, and I did get 14, but that was pre-wash, and it's still damp. Like over here, it's still really wet. Well, not really wet, it's damp. There's a lot of barber pulling, like I said. I tried as much as possible to split it up in a way that I would get barber pulling. So a lot of the times when you, like, it goes from a dark purple, or the fiber did a dark purple strip that was quite long, and then that went into like a smaller, almost white, and then there was a pink, and then there was a gray. Sometimes it went from gray to purple, and then there were like these strips of orange, yellow, turquoise, and then back to pink and then purple. So purple was kind of the main color, and I tried as much as possible so that purple lined up with the turquoise. And so, I mean, as much as my inexperience can, and I was fairly successful. There weren't a whole lot of sections while plying that I saw where the purples matched up. There is some, because purple does make up quite a large amount of the skein. So I want to knit socks out of this, but it needs to dry first. This is, now my nitty naughty, I don't understand nitty naughties. I was very confused. So I wrapped this around my nitty naughty 149 times, I believe. And I thought it was a 4-yard nitty naughty. It's not. I'm telling you that right now. It's really not. So the nitty naughty that I bought does, I believe it's approximately 2-yard skeins. So this is just under 300 yards of a 2-ply. And like I said, when I used my wraps per inch tool, I did get 14, which it says is fingering, but somebody on the board said that that's, for a 2-ply, 14 is more like DK. I don't know. I think it's a sport. When I look at it, it looks similar to the work sock by Madeline Tosh. That's my instinct on it. Sport to fingering. There are some thinner sections. So yeah, I'm going to knit socks out of this. I'm going to try to knit socks out of this. Who knows? Who knows? So that needs to be hung back up to dry some more. Because like I said, it is still quite damp. I'm not on paper though. I don't know where to put it. Okay. Alright. So those are all my finished objects. Go me. That is quite a bit, I think. And I've been really busy. My boss is on vacation, so I'm the only one holding the fort down, as it were. It's the end of the month. So there's a lot of payrolls. And then it's just, one of my clients that I work on from home has a GST filing this month. So I'm busy with that. I've spent a good chunk of the weekend working on it. I have to do up some, I have like visa receipts and visa statements spread out all across the desk. Anyway, new project. Madeline Tosh is having a goodbye, hello, you say goodbye, na, 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 na. Sal right now. Because they always have a number of colorways that get discontinued, and then they have a bunch of new colorways that get released. This is to retail. So, I mean, the discontinued colorways are discontinued, but the ones that are newly released to, I don't know what his problem is, newly released to retail. So they're doing a cal until September 15th if you knit with one of the discontinued colorways on any base. So I am knitting with Spicewood on Tosh Merino Light. Come on, there we go. No, this is not Tosh Merino Light. This is Twist Light. I bought this and one other skein of Twist Light when Madeline Tosh first released it. And they first released it into the shop, and then they very quickly released it to retail. So I was super excited about it. It was their first fingering weight that had nylon in it. Prior to that, it was just Tosh sock, which is 100% merino, high twist, and I've done socks out of that, and it fades. It fades a lot. I've done 2 pairs of socks out of Tosh sock. I knit 1 pair out of plaid blanket, and I did the skip rib or Skype rib, and those wore through the foot to start off, and they faded. And then I did another pair out of Mansfield Garden Party, and they faded awfully. They haven't worn through yet, but... So this is the sock that I started. I'm doing a simple 64 stitch sock with a little cable detail down the one side. These are going to be for my mom. And I'm knitting these on zeros. Because they're for my mom, they need to be a little bit smaller than when I knit socks for myself. It needs to focus. Oh. So this is how far I am. I cast them on last night. Not super amazing progress on that, but I started, this is a new bag from Fat Squirrel. This is, I think, a sweater bag. It's got bees on it. I don't really like bees, but I like yellow. So my brother and sister-in-law are expecting their second baby in October. They know it's going to be a boy. So I have started knitting a bounce baby blanket. I'm on the 4th row. I just need to purl back and then I'm done that. So I'm knitting this out of a Tanis Fiber Arts Pure Wash DK palette that I purchased. I purchased a couple of them. And I'm using her Pure Wash DK in Natural, oh my goodness, as the contrast color. So the garter ridges, I have 2 skeins of this. That's the Natural and the Pure Wash DK. And then this is the Hummingbird palette. So I'm going to pull them out, little mini skeins. Oh my goodness. This is probably going to be a mess, so please forgive me. I have them all like shoved into the bag. This is Ravine. And then it goes into Cosmic Night. And then goes into Peacock, which is almost more green than that is showing. And then the color that I'm currently knitting with is Sea Breeze, which has some mint green in it. It's, again, a lot more green than what it's showing. And then is Frost. And then a Speckle, which is Hummingbird. And then it takes a left turn and has Gold. And then the last color is a gray, Chris Gray. My sister-in-law loves gray. They're having a boy, as I believe I said. So I have cast on 189 stitches. I saw somebody use the Tanis palette. I went looking because I wanted to make it bigger, because I wanted to use all of, like, these palettes, it's 160 yards per little mini skein, and the pattern as written would not use nearly all of that, and I wanted to use as much as possible of the yarn. So I have knit Ravine, Cosmic Night, Peacock, and Sea Breeze, and they're showing up fine in the knitted object. And I wanted to use up all my yarn. So somebody knit a blanket that was 213 stitches wide out of a palette. And they said they were able to do 4 repeats, 4 full color repeats, and they had just a little bit left over. But they had to break into another half skein of Natural, which I don't have. I mean, I can always buy it. It's Natural. It shouldn't vary by dye lot, considering it's the undyed yarn, but who knows. So I can always order another skein of Natural if I want to. So I reduced the number of pattern repeats by 2 from the 213. So I cast on 189. And I'm going to try to do 4 pattern repeats. And this is half a pattern repeat. And it'll block out quite a bit because of the lace. I don't find the lace very difficult, even though it is patterned on both sides. I haven't had any issues with that. I don't like purling, so that's kind of an issue. But overall, it's been fine. The garter stitch rows break it up really nicely. Make it better. And then I have a new spinning whip, but I didn't want to pull it off the wheel. So I pulled some of the extra fiber out. I started a bump of Hello Yarns. This is the Breathless Air colorway in Rambouillet. This is just part of the fiber. So I pulled out a piece of the bump I have. So I started spinning this. I have never spun Rambouillet before. I have never spun a lot of things before. Being a newer spinner, there's a lot of things I haven't spun. This being one of them. And it wants to be so thin. It wants to be so thin. The first little bit that I spun was like cobweb. That's how fine it wanted to spin for me. I've got it a little bit thicker now, and I'm doing my first true 3-ply I want to try with this. So it's okay that it's thin. Fingering weight, there's lots to do with fingering weight outside of socks, because this is not superwash and there's no nylon, and I don't want to mess with that. So this is what I'm spinning. It's going to be really pretty. I don't have very much on the bobbin either. I just started basically. And then I wanted to bring, this is another Fat Squirrel fiber bag. I believe this is a large wedge. I picked up a whole bunch of bags from her SSK Leftovers shop update. So there might be a bunch of new bags showing up in the shop soon. So this is a skein of Madeline Tosh lace yarn. This is a one-of-a-kind colorway. This is one of like her grab bag kind of dealios. I'm knitting my mom, or I'm going to be, I haven't started. I'm going to be knitting my mom a pie shawl. I'm going to be doing Luca by Jared Flood from Brooklyn Tweed. I think it's by Jared Flood. It's out of a Brooklyn Tweed book. I don't remember who it's by exactly. And that's going to be cast on at some point. I wanted to get my whips down, which I did by finishing 3 pairs of socks. Then I cast another pair of socks on, which I always do. So yeah, I want this to be done by her birthday, which is December 1st, but I have to finish the baby blanket first because nephew's due in October. So that's a little bit more important than my mom's birthday. That sounds terrible, but it's true. Terrible, but true. Next enabling, I got my Into the World August Fiber Club. I joined their Fiber Club. I really like their Yarn Club, but they're doing their Pakoku sock now as base of all of their Yarn Club shipments to reduce the cost a little bit. Their Pakoku sock is not my favorite. I think I talked about this last time or the time before. I've talked about it recently. It's a really thin 75-25 merino nylon blend, which is fine, but it's just not my favorite. I liked the fact that you got different bases sometimes, because they have a BFL sock base that I really liked, and they have some other bases that I enjoy that don't show up in their shop terribly often, and it feels like they're going to show up even less if they're switching their club all over to Pakoku, so whatever. I switched to the Fiber Club because I'm spinning, and if you haven't gotten yours yet and don't want to be spoiled, look away. This is called Iocane powder. It is on Romney. I'm just in the Classic Club. I don't need a bunch of fancy silky stuff. I buy enough of that on my own. I have not taken this out of the skein out of here at all, but I will to show it off. Ooh, Romney is kind of hairy. So this is the fiber. So yeah, I'm not sure when this will be spun. It's bright aqua blues, grassy deep hunter greens, denim-y blues, and some gray. I ordered a braid extras today as well from the shop update. So I'll be getting a second bag of this. That was all they had left. It's apparently a really popular one. So yeah, like I said, I'm not sure when that'll go on the wheel, but it's very nice. I don't think I have any other Romney as well. See, the Fiber Club is always different. Maybe that's why I went. I don't know. That is all of the knitting content I have. Like I said, next week I'm at the lake with my family, so the next recording will be in 2 weeks. I'm thinking of switching to weekly updates. I've been thinking about how to get more viewers back to the podcast. Before I had my unintended hiatus, at least on YouTube, that's what I can track the easiest. I don't know how to track the number of viewers on iTunes. I feel like that's a big mystery kind of thing. And the blog has changed. So just according to YouTube, before I took the hiatus and after, it's about half. Now, before I took the hiatus, I don't think I was posting on iTunes anymore, so that could be part of it. And I know that I kind of screwed myself. Like, it's my own fault. I took a hiatus. I wasn't intending to. I didn't say that I was necessarily. I've also changed the name of the podcast a couple of times. The website has changed a couple of times. The only thing that hasn't really changed is the YouTube channel. I was on iTunes, then I was off iTunes. Now I'm back on iTunes. So maybe, I guess, the viewership will increase with some consistency on my part. And one of the reasons for the hiatus, and I don't know if I've ever really talked about this, I was living with a guy for 4 years, which was going on when I started the podcast. And about 2.5 years ago, he very unexpectedly broke up with me, and we continued to live together for another 3 or 4 months, which went terribly. So I was still in school at the time, and he was an ass. He messed around with my ability to get to work. My boss lives just outside of the city, which means just outside of the bus service. So without a car, I can't really get to work. And he stopped letting me use the second vehicle to get to work at one point while I was living there. So it was really hard. And then I was in school and I was living by myself in an apartment that was probably out of my means, which was this apartment. I was paying a lot for rent when I first moved in. Rent has decreased quite a bit since I moved here. And I have always struggled with depression and anxiety, and it really kind of came to a head after that. So I started seeing a counselor at school, which was covered by school, and I started seeing a doctor, and I've been on medication for about a year now, which has helped. I've actually been very bad and have gone off of my medication. I have a prescription sitting at the pharmacist that I need to pick up. I dropped it off yesterday. I'm trying to be good. So yeah, it's been rough. It always has been. And I don't have a lot of friends in Saskatoon, and part of it is because I'm super introverted and I find it difficult to make friends. That combined with apathy and finding it really difficult to leave the apartment. Leaving the apartment for classes and work at the time was hard enough, and these days leaving for work is hard enough. So I tend not to do a whole lot outside of work because I just don't have the energy for it a lot of the time. And I don't work with a lot of people. Like this last week, I worked by myself pretty much every day. But I had car issues the last week as well. So it's just been hard. And I'm not planning on changing. I think the name of the podcast is set. Because no matter what happens, it'll always be a little mishmash of whatever is going on. And it is so broad that it will cover kind of anything that I'm doing. I think I've paid for the website for like 3 years or something. So the iTunes link won't be going away. YouTube is still going as usual. I'm just not sure if there's anything extra I can do. If you have any ideas, feel free to comment on YouTube or the Ravelry group. So yeah, I mean, whether there's 500 of you or 5 of you, I will continue to record. Like I said, I don't really have a lot of friends in Saskatoon, and the knitting community in Saskatoon feels like it's non-existent. There are 2 yarn stores in Saskatoon. One sells a lot of alpaca from a local alpaca farm, which I'm not that into. And the other one, they do their days on like Thursday afternoons. I work. Like, it's kind of made for either retired people or stay-at-home moms, because the majority of us work Thursday afternoons from like 2 to 4. I work 9 to 5, Monday to Thursday. Like, when am I supposed to attend a knit day? Like, there is no knit night. There's no, as far as I know, like, I've looked. And I looked when I was at the university to see if there was anything on campus. It's hard to find. It's hard to find a group of people in Saskatoon, because it's not that big a city. Not that big a city. I've lived in way bigger. And then combined with the just lack of motivation a lot of days, it's hard to want to leave, let alone to leave to meet people that I don't know. You know, it's hard enough to find the motivation to leave the house enough as it is, like to go pick up my prescription, for example, or grocery shopping or whatever. And those don't necessarily require a lot of interaction with a lot of other people. But when you have to get up the motivation and the courage almost to go somewhere where you know nobody and you're then expected to interact with them, that's really hard. Really hard. So this is my version of a knit night, I guess. I'm not knitting. But, you know, other than this, my mom is the only one I really talk to, and she says, yeah, and she quilts and crochets and does all this stuff, but she doesn't knit. So it's sometimes awkward. And, I mean, it's a big part of my life. I obviously spend a lot of time knitting if I finish 3 pairs of socks in a week. Now, granted, I had one full sock of the Workhorse work socks, the Madeline Tosh socks. I had one full sock to do there, which I finished Friday night and yesterday. Like, Friday night, I basically knit the whole thing, or Friday I knit the whole thing, and then Saturday I did the toe. And then the on the round socks, I think I showed them last time. I think I had about that much. And then same with I think the lollipop socks, I had one finished, but no heels. So I did the second sock and then I did the heels. So I obviously knit quite a bit, and I'm starting to spin. I am trying to spin every day. Some days it's feels like a lot of work again to get out the wheel and set everything up, because it is in the living room, but I have to kind of move things around because I don't want it sitting in the middle of my living room all the time, because the dog plays in the living room and he's big. So, yeah. Any ideas or suggestions or whatever, let me know. If you are enjoying the episodes, let me know. If you're not, please don't let me know. Just stop watching. So, yeah, I will see you all in 2 weeks. I hope you have a great couple weeks. Have a great long weekend. I think it's a long weekend in the States as well, but I'm not 100% sure about that. Your long weekends don't always line up with ours, but usually it's pretty close. So have a good time. I will talk to you guys later. Bye.